It is my absolute pleasure to be joined today by author Mary Lynn Miller. She is the author of the newly released book, From Grief to Gratitude, One Soul's Journey. And so, Mary, tell us about this book.
Okay, well, I believe it's a book of hope and transformation and finding new meaning in life. I had lost my husband and my two best friends all within 3 years of one another, and I struggled to find out who I was. I had lost my identity because my children were grown and had kids of their own. I had retired to take care of my husband, so my 45-year career was over. And I was really struggling with who I was and where I was going, and I just felt like I lost my identity. I was struggling to reconcile my faith with these profound losses. I just didn't understand why. So one evening, I sat down at the kitchen table and I decided to write down some thoughts, just random thoughts as to where I had been and where I might be going and so on. And as I wrote, I felt better and it became a healing process. And as I wrote, and it took several months, I worked on it for 4 years because it was painful. I had to put it up for a month or two and then get my thoughts together and take it back down off the shelf and try and go through it again. But as I wrote, I learned so many lessons. Probably one of the most important lessons I learned was don't ask why. Don't ask why. It's a useless question. Instead of asking why, ask what. What am I going to do about it now? Instead of asking, why did my husband have to suffer so much and die? Why did my closest spiritual friend die tragically and unexpectedly? And why did my best friend of 35 years, who was 10 years younger than me, why did she have to get a rare blood cancer and die? So I was just full of why. And when I started asking myself, okay, well, you'll probably never understand why, but what are you going to do about it? What changes are you going to make? And so on. And that was an eye opener. I also learned that suffering is a choice. It may be a subconscious choice, but it's a choice. God gave us free will, and I chose to suffer. I went into that self-pity mode. I went into why me, and I was lonely, and I just it just blossomed into years of suffering, and I just couldn't figure out why. And I also learned that sometimes God puts you in a place where only He can find you, and it took me a while to figure that out. But once again, in the end, I found new meaning when I started asking, what am I going to do about it? I started working with veterans. I became a hospice volunteer. And the more I helped others, the more I helped myself. I learned that if you're lonely, go visit someone who's lonely. If you're depressed, go visit someone who's depressed. And you turn it around and you get more out of it than you give. And by helping others and taking the focus off of me, I found new meaning. I found hope.
I love
So
this.
that's what the book is about. Grief is a very personal thing, and we all go through it, for our own reasons. Some people never come out of it, but it is an opportunity to grow.
It's incredible. And I love how, first of all, I'm sorry that so much tragedy happened in such a short time. That I know that was rough to deal with, absolutely. But I love how you were able to take that and find purpose. God gave you a new purpose and obviously a ministry. I mean, I can tell the way that you word it. And I think that's incredible. And so what was that main point of inspiration? And we've talked about it a little bit already, but what would you say was that main turning point inspiration where you said, I'm going to publish this, I'm going to write this and publish it?
Well, as I wrote, I began to heal, and I began to learn these lessons. And it dawned on me that maybe I could help someone else suffer just a little bit less. Maybe I could help someone realize that grief and joy can truly be friends. Maybe they'll realize it sooner than I did. So the whole reason for writing the book is to try and help others suffer less. And I feel like now, that journey through grief was very meaningful. It was part of God's plan. It had a good reason. And now I'm helping others. I've had some really good reviews and letters from people I hadn't heard from in years where they had been down the same painful path. So, so I figure mission accomplished. My goal was to help one person, even one person. And so I just kept at it. Like I said, I had to put it up for a couple months at a time and then take it down because I had to relive everything, my entire life. I had an abused marriage, the first marriage, and I learned that that abuse was a blessing in disguise because now I have empathy for women who stay in abusive marriages. I understand completely why. So I've come out of it much more empathetic.
It's amazing how we go through things and we're able to turn that into purpose, right? And I always think that's
Right.
incredible. It's just I find peace sometimes when I'm like, this is just something that's going to be added to my testimony later, you know? Like, I just tell myself
Right.
that sometimes. I'm like, it'll all work out later. It'll be fine. And I love the way that you've turned this around into helping others. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today about you, your book, or the message behind the book?
Yes, the message behind the book is that grief is not just about death. Grief is about loss. You could lose a job, you could lose a relationship, you could lose mobility as you grow older. You grieve for a lot of different reasons. So this book, although it focuses on the deaths that I experienced, at the end of each chapter, I put three, hopefully, thought-provoking questions to let the reader do a little self-reflection and understand why they made the choices they did or how they made the choices they did, because life is full of choices. We make hundreds of choices every day. And I told my children and all my friends, I think that we create our own reality by the choices we make and by how we respond to the choices that others make. It's all up to us. And when you decide to be positive and find the good in anything as difficult as it is, there is a way out, and we are in control. There's not a whole lot we can control in this world, but we can control how we react.
Well, those are very
So I put the questions I put at the end of each chapter, I'm hoping will let people kind of reflect on how they've made their choices and maybe there's a better way to make them.
Well, I think this book sounds full of amazing messages that everyone needs to read and take to heart. Because you're right, everyone's experienced loss in some way or another. Everyone's experienced grief in some way or another. We want to
Right.
let everyone know to pick up this powerful book by Mary Lynn Miller. It's available online. From Grief to Gratitude, One Soul's Journey. It's available everywhere online books are sold. It's on Amazon, online at Barnes and Noble, Reader House, and Apple Books, all of those places. We recommend everyone pick up this book. There's something in it for everyone. And
Mhm.
Mary, you've been an absolute delight to talk to today. And thank you for sharing your story with me.
One other thought,
Yeah, absolutely.
all of the proceeds from the book go to Delaware Hospice.
Nice. Oh, that's
Yes.
wonderful. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. So it
Yes.
has purpose.
It's not for me, it's for them. So all of the proceeds from the book are being donated to the hospice organization.
Well, thank you so much for that. And just thank you for your purpose and your ministry. And we appreciate that. And thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.